Zombie outbreak. I turned my small-town supply store into a fortress. I am unlocking the front door at 6:10 in the morning when the first bad report comes through the radio behind the counter. The station out of the city is still using the calm voice from the night crew, but the words are wrong for that voice. Hospital lockdown. Police traffic jammed. One district asking people to stay inside until further notice. I stand there with the key still in the deadbolt and listen to the weather after that. Because that is what the radio man does. He moves on. Wind out of the west. Dry afternoon. No mention of why a city hospital needs lockdown language before sunrise. My store sits on the edge of Bell Creek, where Main Street starts giving up and turning into gravel lots, feed bins, tractor sheds, and old signs with paint cooked off by summer. Mercer Farm and Supply used to do real business when 3 family farms still operated inside 10 miles, and the co-op down the road had not folded. Now I sell fence staples, dog food, oil, seed, water tanks, heater parts, gloves, cheap boots, chain, and enough feed to keep the last few people with chickens and cattle feeling connected to a life that is already half gone. The building is cinder block on 3 sides, plate glass in front, a loading dock on the back, warehouse above and behind the retail floor, office in one corner, roof hatch over the stockroom, and a fenced side yard with pallets, culvert pipe, and rusting display troughs. I know every inch of it. I know what every shelf can carry. I know which doors sag and which ones still shut clean. I turn on half the lights instead of all of them. That starts before I can explain why. Maybe it is the radio report. Maybe it is the way the sky looks washed out before sunup. Maybe it is just because fuel deliveries have already been thin for 2 weeks, and I keep thinking in numbers now. The first customer of the day is Earl Womack, and Earl never buys anything before 8 unless a pipe has burst or a calf has gotten its head stuck in wire. He comes in with his ball cap low and asks for all the galvanized screws I have in 3-inch and 4-inch. He takes 2 boxes of hinges, chain, 1 hatchet, 4 utility knives, and every battery lantern that is not already dead in the package. "You fixing a barn?" I ask him. He does not smile. Earl always smiles. I'm fixing doors. I ring him up and watch him load the bed of his truck. His hands move too fast. He drops a box, curses at it, scoops it back up, and drives off before I can ask anything else. 5 minutes later, a woman I barely know from the West End trailer road comes in with 2 little girls and buys canned soup from the end rack, all the bleach, a mop bucket, and dog food, even though she does not own a dog. Then old Mr. Hanratty comes for shotgun shells, duct tape, and propane cylinders. I do not sell firearms, but I carry shells for farmers with varmints. By 7:15, my receipt roll is already longer than most Tuesdays. Darlene Pike shows up at 7:30 in her denim jacket with her purse tucked under one arm and stops in the doorway when she sees the front aisle stripped. She has worked my register 3 mornings a week for 9 years, and she does not scare easy. She looks at the radio, then at the customers, then at me. What happened? I don't know yet, I tell her. But people started buying for shut-in weather, and it isn't weather. She hangs up her jacket anyway. That is the kind of woman she is. She clocks in, starts bagging, and keeps the line moving while I leave the radio louder than normal. The city station starts taking calls from people stuck on ring roads and outside emergency rooms. One man says his brother died in the waiting room and later stood up. The host cuts him off and says unverified reports are not helping. A state trooper comes on after that and tells people to avoid medical centers unless the condition is life-threatening. That lands in the store harder than shouting would have. The line goes quiet, Even the children stop fussing. By 9, Bell Creek is acting in pieces instead of as a town. Half the people are pretending nothing is happening because no one here has seen it with his own eyes. The other half are buying whatever can be carried. My supplier in the county seat does not answer. The feed mill out on Route 9 sends a busy signal, then nothing. I call the fuel distributor because my generator out back is only half full. No answer there either. I walk the aisles while customers strip useful things from the shelves and start sorting in my head. Screws, lumber, chain, padlocks, stock panels, roofing nails, tarps, hand tools, medical gloves, bleach, water jugs, animal feed, seed sacks, shop lights, extension cords, ratchet straps, culvert sections, window plexiglass, rope, and the forklift with a fresh propane tank. The store starts turning in my mind from a business into a shape with angles, choke points, and material. At 10:15, Deputy Leon Hayes pulls into the lot. He comes in wearing his tan uniform shirt with the sleeves rolled and sweat already down the middle of his back. Leon is a big man, not fast, not elegant, but steady in the way that makes people stop complaining when he enters a room. He buys 4 flashlights, a bolt cutter, and 2 more radios off the display peg. He leans on the counter while Darlene bags his things. "What's real?" I ask him. He looks past me at the radio and lowers his voice. County dispatch is getting calls from 3 towns east of here. People attacking family, wrecks in the road, 1 nursing home gone bad all at once. State says keep everybody calm until somebody from health gets in. State also says deputies are not to approach medical scenes without backup. There is no backup. So what do I tell people? Tell them to stay home if home is still home. That answer stays with me. Home if home is still home. Leon takes his bag and turns back before he reaches the door. "Ray, if you're thinking about closing up, do it before dark." I look at the glass front of the store after he leaves. I built none of this building myself. My father bought it in the 1980s when Bell Creek still had enough money to dream in concrete. But I know what he was thinking when he paid extra for cinder block, steel door frames, a loading dock, and roof access. He was thinking farm theft, storm season, and staying open when other people could not. He was not thinking about dead people walking around town. I am. By 11, I stop ringing up whatever people grab and start setting limits. 2 lanterns per house, 1 case of water, 1 propane cylinder, 1 chain, 1 tool set. I tell people the truth, which is that I do not know when the next truck comes. Some get angry. Some nod because they already know. Darlene catches me looking at the front windows and says, "You're going to board it." I'm thinking about it. You're going to board it. She is right. At 11:30, I lock the front door for the first time in business hours since the ice storm 11 years ago. People outside slap the glass and point at the open sign, but I flip it dark and wave them off. I let the last 5 customers finish. I tell Darlene to go home to her husband and stay there. She says she wants to help put things up. I tell her no twice. On the 3rd time, I put 6 gallons of water, canned food from the front rack, batteries, and 2 bags of dog food in her car, even though she does not have a dog. She does not argue after that. She grabs my forearm, says, "Don't be stupid, Ray," and leaves. The town does not look panicked yet. That makes the work harder, because I feel half crazy hauling plywood from the side yard while the diner across the street still has its lunch sign out. I get the forklift running and start moving seed pallets and stack them behind the front windows 3 high. 40-pound bags on the bottom, lighter stock on top. It is not perfect cover, but but it keeps broken glass from becoming open air. Then I pull plywood sheets from the rack, cut them on the sawhorses just inside the entrance, and lag bolt them over the glass from the inside. I leave narrow slits high enough to look out through. The front of the store goes from retail to bunker one sheet at a time. Hammer, drill, bolts, lift, brace, repeat. Sweat runs into my eyes. The radio keeps talking. The voice keeps getting thinner. The side doors get chain and carriage bolts. The loading dock door and back already rolls down over steel tracks, but the bottom gap is wide enough for a boot or pry bar. So I drag 2 pallets of mineral blocks in front of it and cinch them to the interior post with ratchet straps. I move dog food and chicken feed off the floor and stack them along the inner wall where they can serve double duty as stock and barrier. I pull every water container I own into the wash bay out back and start filling from the utility sink while town pressure still holds. 5-gallon buckets, livestock jugs, cooler chests, plastic troughs lined with contractor bags. The back room starts smelling like wet rubber, feed dust, and chlorine. Around 1:30, I climb to the roof with an old pair of marine binoculars and a folding chair from the clearance aisle. The tar paper is hot already. From up there, I can see Bell Creek in a full circle, church steeple, school buses at the lot, water tower, sheriff's office over by the courthouse, the old movie theater with letters missing from the sign. A lot of cars moving too fast for this town. A lot of people walking where people should be driving. Smoke from somewhere south, thin and gray. Then I see the first thing that makes the radio real. A man in hospital pants is stumbling along the sidewalk near the pharmacy with one shoe missing. He runs into a parked car, bounces off, and keeps going without looking down. Another man tries to help him. The man in hospital pants grabs him high around the neck. Both of them slam into the pharmacy window hard enough to shake the frame. I stay on the roof longer than I mean to. I keep hoping there will be a moment when everything snaps back into normal shape. A deputy cruiser cuts across Main, brakes sideways, and 2 deputies get out. One is Leon. The other one goes to the ground with the man in hospital pants. I cannot hear them from up here, but I can see the motion turn wrong almost at once. Leon pulls the deputy back by his vest. The sick man comes up off the pavement in a jerking rush that makes no sense from this distance. Leon fires once. The sound rolls late across town. Everybody on Main freezes at once. Then all of Bell Creek starts moving at the same time in different directions. I get off the roof and keep working. The first afternoon turns into a list. Shut off the front sign. Pull the register drawers and sort cash. Bring hunting knives and hatchets from the display to the office. Fill the generator. Test the roof hatch. Hammer 2x4s into brackets under the office windows. Cut a firing slot in the back loading door shield, then hate myself a little for even thinking the phrase firing slot. Drag the old deer-blind stool from the storeroom to the roof and screw a waist-high shield around one corner using plywood and a stack of cracked feed tubs packed with dirt from the side yard. It gives me a watch post over Main and another line on the alley behind the building. I string little brass bells on twine across the warehouse stairs, the office hallway, and the back dock in case anyone gets inside while I sleep. By 4, the store feels less like a store than a machine I am teaching myself to operate in a hurry. People knock off and on through the afternoon. Mrs. Kell from the flower shop wants batteries. A ranch hand from north of town wants fence pliers and asks if I have heard from the interstate. A man I do not know pounds on the plywood and demands bleach. I crack the side door twice and sell what I can without letting anybody look too far in. Word spreads fast in a place this small. By 5, everyone knows I have shut down and fortified. That helps and hurts at the same time. Practical people stop asking me if I am overreacting. Desperate people start looking at the building in a new way. At dusk, the radio station from the city goes dead in mid-sentence. 1 second, a woman is talking about emergency shelter intake. The next second, there is a flat hiss. I switch to AM. I get one station from 3 states away, carrying national talk and fragments about violent outbreaks in multiple counties. There is no clear line between riot, disease, and something worse. Every official voice sounds like it is reading from paper handed over too late. I eat peanut butter with a spoon sitting on an overturned bucket by the warehouse door and listen to my own generator thrum behind the wall. Outside, Bell Creek spends 1 more hour pretending there is still a normal evening. Porch lights come on. A pickup backs out of the diner lot. The church bell rings 6 times. Then 3 separate screams carry down the street from different directions. And after that, nobody pretends anymore. I do not turn on interior lights where they can leak. I work by battery lantern, office lamp, and 1 shaded fixture in the stockroom. The building changes at night. The feed dust hangs lower. Every shifting bag settles with a soft exhale. The bells I strung seem too loud whenever I brush one. I climb to the roof twice before midnight. The first time I count moving figures on Main and lose track at 12 because more keep coming out of dark yards and side streets. The second time I see a pickup at the gas station with both front doors open and nobody near it. The canopy lights are still on. 1 figure keeps walking into the side of the truck and bouncing off. A dog barks from somewhere and then stops all at once. Around 1 in the morning, my landline rings in the office, and I nearly knock the chair over getting to it because nothing has rung for hours. It is Darlene. Her voice sounds flat and careful. "Frank can't catch air without the machine," she says. "The power just dipped twice. I tell her to get in the car and come now if the roads are open. He won't travel. Then you drag him if you can." She is quiet for a second. I hear something in the background that is not Frank's oxygen machine. It is a knocking noise. Wood on wood, slow, then harder. "Darlene?" "That's the back door," she says. I tell her to leave the phone and go to the bedroom with the dresser against the door. I tell her to take the pistol Frank keeps in the sock drawer. I tell her I am coming, and that is a lie while I say it. I have a crowbar in one hand and the truck keys in the other, and still I know it is a lie. Her house is 8 blocks west through streets I cannot see, with 1 woman, 1 sick man, and whatever is hitting that door. If I take the truck with lights off, I may not reach her. If I take lights on, I bring half the town. If I open this place now, I may lose it before dawn. I stand in the office with the keys cutting into my palm and listen to the knocking on her end get faster. Then the line goes dead. I sit in the dark for a full minute with the phone still against my ear. After that minute, I put the keys down and go back to work because there is nothing else to do that is not madness. I shut off the generator until dawn to keep from advertising power. The store goes still except for the small sounds of the building cooling and whatever shuffles past out on Main. Morning comes gray and mean. I start the generator for 1 hour to top off batteries and cool the fridge where I moved medicine and perishables from the front display. Then I kill it again. The town looks older in daylight, stripped and dirtier from one night. 2 cars are into storefronts. 1 deputy cruiser is half up on a curb outside the insurance office. Main Street has people walking the wrong way, slow and crooked, with heads up and mouths open. Nobody is carrying coffee. Nobody is talking on a phone. That is what makes it final for me. Bell Creek lives on trucks, weather, and people yelling across parking lots. This morning, all I hear is wind moving a loose sign and the occasional bang of a screen door. I spend the first hours of day 2 making the store livable instead of just hard to enter. I clear the office floor and set 2 cots from the camping aisle in case I am not alone by night. I move canned goods, flour, rice, cooking oil, jerky, and trail food from the front racks into the back room where it cannot be seen through any crack. I bring camp stoves, spare propane, and the coffee percolator into the wash bay. I dump every bag of cracked corn, oats, and feed I know I will never use for people into the far warehouse and seal that room off, because the smell is going to bring rats if this goes long. I make a written inventory on yellow invoice paper and tape it to the office wall. Water, fuel, batteries, food, tools, med supplies, hygiene, weapons, spare lumber, sleep gear. The list steadies me because lists always have. By 10, the first person I let in arrives at the loading dock, knocking in a pattern instead of just beating on the metal. 3 short, 2 long. It is June Sutter from the clinic. Her scrub pants are streaked with dirt. One sleeve is torn nearly off. She is carrying a tote bag, a box of gloves, and nothing else. I know June enough to nod at in line for coffee, not enough to know where she lives. She works hard, keeps her hair pulled back tight, and never lingers in the store. I crack the dock shield and see her face close to the slit. "Show me your arms." She does. No blood except old flecks on the torn sleeve. "I came through alleys," she says. "Clinic is done. 2 patients went bad after midnight. One man in the waiting room died, then got up after we bagged him. Sheriff's office took 1 nurse and left. Nobody came back. Anybody with you? No. Anybody follow you? I don't know." I make her wait while I watch the alley through the roof slit. Nothing moves except a newspaper wrapping around a tire. Then I open just enough to pull her in and shut it fast behind her. She stands there in the dim dock light and looks around at the pallets, chains, and stacked feed as if she has walked into the inside of somebody's head. "Good," she says. "You did the right thing." That matters more than it should. June does not sit down. She washes at the utility sink, changes into a flannel shirt from the workwear rack, and starts sorting what she brought. Gauze, sutures, antibiotics, pain tablets, inhalers, thermometer strips, 2 insulin pens in a cooler bag, blood pressure cuff. She sets the things out on the folding table in the back room and tells me what needs refrigeration and what does not. Her voice stays even the whole time. Only once does she stop, and that is when she unfolds a clinic towel and a wedding ring falls out onto the table. She stares at it, wraps it back up, and keeps working. I do not ask whose it is. At noon, we hear engine noise and both go still. A school bus turns into the lot and stops crooked with one front fender bent in. The folding stop sign on the side is hanging loose. I am on the roof before the engine fully dies. Ruth Hanley gets out from the driver's side with a pry bar in one hand. Her son Luke climbs out behind her with a backpack almost as long as his torso. Old Nolan Briggs comes last through the folding door, one knee stiff, grease on his shirt, baseball cap still on his head as if this is a repair call. The bus doors close behind them. 3 figures from up the block turn toward the noise. I get down, open the dock fast, and wave them in. Ruth hustles Luke ahead of her, then Nolan, then turns and slams the pry bar into the nearest figure through the bus door glass before backing inside. I shut the dock and hear hands slap metal on the outside a second later. Luke does not cry. He stands near the dog food stack staring at the door while Ruth braces both hands on her knees and spits dust onto the concrete. "We are not staying on a bus," she says. I'm done with that. Ruth tells the story in pieces while Nolan sits on a bucket and rubs his knee. She went to the bus yard at dawn because the school district robocall said drivers were reporting for instructions. Half the lot was empty already. One mechanic was dead in a service bay. Another one came after a driver with a wrench, then got shot by the superintendent, then got up again. Ruth grabbed Luke from her sister's place on the way back and found Nolan walking from the service station with a toolbox and no ride. She tried to get west out of town, found 3 wrecks and 1 roadblock of abandoned cars, then saw my roof shield from 2 streets over and came here. I should say no. The practical answer is no. 4 people become mouths, noise, heat, waste, argument, sleep shifts, and moral obligation. But Bell Creek outside is already too far gone for a woman, a boy, and an old mechanic to make another stand from scratch. I hand Luke a bottle of water and tell Ruth the rules before she can ask. No shouting, no lights near the front. Nobody opens a door without me or June. Food gets counted. Water gets counted. If somebody feels sick, says it early. If anybody gets blood in a cut, say it early. No hero runs, no stealing, no wandering. Ruth nods once. Nolan says, "That all sounds fair." Luke says nothing, but he takes the bottle with both hands and drinks as if somebody told him not to stop. The 4 of us spend the afternoon turning the back room into something a human body can tolerate for more than one night. Ruth is useful the minute she stops moving. She drags feed sacks, clears space, sets up camp cots, and ties blankets over the office interior glass so light will not carry. Nolan checks my generator without asking permission first, which should annoy me but does not. He has the look of a man who spent 40 years fixing machines because nobody else remembered maintenance. He changes the plug, tightens a line, and tells me the fuel filter is going to clog if I keep sucking from the bottom of the old drum. June inventories medicine and points out that my bleach pile is stacked next to dog wormer, which is a stupid way to kill survivors before the dead get a chance. Luke sorts batteries by size with the focus of a kid trying very hard not to become a problem. By late afternoon, the whole town knows this building is occupied. I know because the knocks change. The first few are random. Then come the familiar ones. A quick rap from Mr. Grady, who wants lamp oil. A soft knock from the pastor's wife, who needs tape for a cut and asks if I have seen her husband. 2 young men with rifles hidden badly under their jackets ask if I have fuel to sell. I do not open for the men. I pass lamp oil and tape through the shield to the others. Every time the lock slides, Luke looks at me as if he is measuring what kind of man I am from the answer I give. Near sundown, Deputy Leon stumbles into the alley behind the store and drops against the dock wall hard enough to rattle the metal. I know the sound of his voice before I understand the words. He is swearing at himself. I get the slit open and see blood on one side of his shirt. "Hands," I say. He lifts them. No bites. The blood is from a crease along his ribs where a bullet or jagged metal skimmed him. We pull him in. June cuts the shirt away while Leon tries to stay useful and talk at the same time. "Sheriff's office is gone," he says. 2 deputies left with family before noon. Sheriff took 3 people to the highway and never came back. Jail trustees got loose. Curtis Vance took the hardware store on Oak for an hour, then lost it. Anybody with sense is either home or dead. That name hangs in the room. Curtis Vance worked for me one fall hauling feed and loading pipe. He was quick, strong, and lazy in a mean way. The kind of lazy that spends more effort hiding a mistake than fixing it. I caught him skimming cash from a side job and fired him. He told half the county I cheated him. Bell Creek is small enough that a grudge does not die unless one of the men leaves town. Curtis never left. Leon sleeps for 2 hours after June cleans and stitches his side. Then he wakes and asks for a gun. I hand him the old pump shotgun I keep under the office desk for coyotes around the storage yard. He checks the action, sets it beside the cot, and says, "Now I can rest." That is the first almost joke anybody has made since this started. The second night is worse because we have enough people to hear each other not sleeping. Luke turns on his cot every 20 minutes. Ruth gets up twice to check the dock lock. June dozes upright in the office chair and wakes whenever Leon shifts. Nolan snores for 7 minutes, then wakes himself and curses under his breath. I stay on the roof from 10 until after 1 with the binoculars and the lever action rifle my father kept above the office door. I can see fire south of town now. Not one building, several. The clinic goes dark. The gas station canopy finally fails. The only steady light left on this end of Bell Creek is the weak shielded glow from my back room whenever someone forgets the blanket at the office door. Around midnight, a family runs across Main in their underwear and house shoes, a man carrying one child and dragging another. Something catches the mother near the florist and brings her down. The father turns back when he should keep going. That is the kind of thing that ends families. By the time I shoulder the rifle, all 4 are lost in the dark knot near the curb, and I cannot separate a target from a person trying to stand. I lower the rifle and stay on the stool while the street works out its own answer. Luke comes up the ladder and sits beside the roof hatch without asking permission. He does not look at me. He looks at the street where the family disappeared. "Do not go out there unless the answer is inside the building," I tell him. He nods once. Mom said the same thing. By morning of day 3, we stop acting like this is temporary. That is a hard line to cross because it means routine, and routine means the old life is over for now. I write a schedule on the invoice board. Roof watch, water boil, fuel check, sweep, inventory, meals, quiet hours, latrine bucket, and bleach rotation. Leon cannot climb much with his side, so I put him on radio and slit watch. Ruth takes mornings on the roof because she is patient and sees motion quick. Nolan handles generator and repairs. June handles medicine, hygiene, and the human side of hard choices. I do whatever is left, and the things nobody wants to decide. The well out back becomes the center of our day. The store has a deep utility well my father installed for livestock tank demos and garden irrigation. It runs on power, so I use the generator in short blocks, and only when we are already making noise. We fill buckets, strain, boil, cool, seal. Ruth rigs a canvas screen in the wash bay to keep steam from flashing out the back vent. Nolan runs a hose line into clean drums and tells Luke to count gallons out loud. That boy counts better than half the adults I know. Water turns the fortress from a good hiding place into a workable one. Food is less simple. I have enough canned goods, trail food, flour, rice, peanut butter, jerky, beans, sugar, powdered milk, and camp meals for maybe 2 weeks, with 6 of us if we stay strict. Feed is everywhere, but feed is not human food, no matter how rough times get. Dog food is last line only. Luke asks once if people can eat horse oats. June tells him yes if there is no other option. She says it in the tone a nurse uses when she wants honesty to do the work instead of drama. That afternoon, I make the first run beyond the lot since locking down. I hate every second of deciding it, but there is a small grocery 3 doors down with boarded windows only on the front and a side service entrance off the alley. If the owner is gone, there will be canned food, baby formula, coffee, salt, maybe fresh produce not yet spoiled, and cleaning stock we will need later. Leon says it is too risky. Ruth says if we do not move now, we will regret it on day 6. June says she needs antiseptic and soap more than coffee. Nolan says he can keep the generator quiet while we go. I take Ruth because she moves fast and keeps her head. We go light, pry bar, hand truck, 2 backpacks, pistols on our hips, no hero gear. The alley behind the grocery smells like sour milk and wet cardboard. Flies are already working the dumpster. The side door is locked, but the frame has split near the latch where somebody tried to kick it and failed. Ruth works the pry bar while I watch the fence line. 3 figures drift half a block away, not looking at us yet. The door gives. Inside, the store is dark except for daylight leaking around the front boards. Somebody looted half the shelves and left in a hurry. Bags of chips are underfoot. A freezer case is thawing into a lake across the floor. We move aisle by aisle with baskets and backpacks. Beans, canned meat, crackers, flour, sugar, formula, soap, toilet paper, tampons, coffee, salt, broth, shelf milk, cereal, pain tablets, batteries, trash bags, bleach, canned fruit. Ruth keeps checking the front. I keep listening to the back. Every tiny sound in a closed shop becomes important. A cooler door settling, glass tapping on glass. Once we both freeze because something drags along the front boards. It moves on. We have 2 loaded carts and a hand truck when we hear crying from next door. Not ahead. Next door. Thin and tired, the way a child sounds after being thirsty for too long. Ruth looks at me. I already know what she's going to say. The laundromat shares a back corridor with the grocery storage room. We go through the fire door into a warm hall smelling of detergent and mold. The crying comes again from behind the manager office. A little girl is wedged between 2 toppled laundry carts with a blanket over her shoulders and her knees up to her chin. 6, maybe 7. Dirty face. Dry tears. Her mother is on the floor near the vending machine with one ankle twisted under her and a dark stain dried around her temple. The child says her name is Ava. She says her mother told her to stay quiet. She does not ask whether her mother is coming. Children know more than adults give them credit for. Ruth takes Ava. I check the mother from a distance with the pry bar ready and find what I already know. Still. Cold. Not moving. We do not take the body. We take the girl, the grocery load, and 1 more bag of stuffed animals from a claw machine because Luke is still a boy, and boys can look away from soft things only for so long. On the way back, one of the slow figures in the alley turns at the sound of the hand truck wheels, then another, then 1 more. We abandon 1 cart of canned vegetables and hurry the last 30 yards with Ruth carrying Ava and me dragging the hand truck hard enough to leave sparks when it clips the curb. Luke and Leon get the dock open just as the first dead ones reach the lot. We shut it with hands on the outside metal a second later. Ava sleeps for 4 straight hours after she eats crackers and drinks half a bottle of water. When she wakes, she asks if anybody saw her cat. Nobody lies to her. June says no. Ava nods and asks for more crackers. That is how childhood protects itself when it can. By evening, the building has changed from a hideout into a place people might call a refuge if they are far enough away and not inside paying the cost. We have a nurse station on the folding table, a fuel corner, a food corner, cots in 2 rows, a quiet bucket area screened by feed tarps, and a watch list nailed to the office wall. I hate how fast human beings can get organized around trouble. I respect it too. Curtis Vance shows up before sunset, with his brother Dean and another man from the quarry road named Roy Pritchard. All 3 carry rifles openly this time. They stop 20 feet from the loading dock instead of coming close. I watch from the roof slit while Leon stands below with the shotgun. Curtis calls up first. "Ray, heard you got a hotel running in there." "Not a hotel. We need diesel, food, and shells. We got room for more men where we are." That is a lie even before he finishes saying it. Curtis does not take care of extra mouths. Curtis takes inventory of what he can use and complains about the rest. "What do you have to trade?" I ask. He laughs once. "Protection." "Then you came to the wrong store." Dean tells him to let it go. Roy keeps scanning the roof line. Curtis spits in the dirt and says, "You always did mistake stock for ownership. Town's going to settle this soon enough." He leaves with the others, but he does not leave empty. He leaves with knowledge. He has seen the dock shield, the roof slit, the fact that we answered. He knows there is water because he saw the wash runoff in the gutter. He knows there are more people inside because Luke moved behind the tarp at the wrong time. Curtis walks off with his rifle loose in one hand, and the kind of patience that belongs to a man waiting for weakness, not a man giving up. Leon mutters from below, "That boy is going to be a problem." "He was a problem before the dead started walking," I tell him. Night 3 is the first time Bell Creek comes to us in numbers. Some hear we have medicine, some hear we have power, some hear we have food. Rumor works faster than any county radio, knock after knock after knock. A pregnant woman with her husband asking for bandages, which June gives them through the slit. A man from the trailer road begging for insulin for his mother. June asks the dose, the brand, and the age of the prescription before handing him 1 pen and strict instructions. 2 teenagers wanting water. An older man with a bite on his forearm, wrapped in a dish towel, who keeps saying he fell through a window. We do not open for him. He pounds the dock and calls us names until something from the alley finds him. After that, we hear a struggle, then 1 shot, then nothing. Ava wakes crying from the noise. Luke gives her the stuffed rabbit from the claw machine without making a scene about it. Ruth watches him do that and turns away a second, because that kind of thing breaks a parent faster than danger does. On day 4, the power grid fails for good. We know because the town has been flickering in chunks all morning, and at 10:17 every remaining house line, pole light, and business sign dies at once. The silence afterward is strange because Bell Creek without transformer hum sounds unfinished. Nolan and I start the generator and test what the building can carry. 1 fridge, 1 battery bank, 1 work light in the wash bay, 1 small fan for air in the back room, no more. We keep the roof dark. We keep the front dark. Still, generator exhaust has a smell, and a running machine sounds like food to people who have none. June says we need more real medical supply if Leon rips his stitches or anybody takes a cut worth worrying about. The clinic pharmacy was mostly behind locked interior doors. She thinks some stock may still be there if the fire did not take the back wing. I do not want another run. That is exactly why we do one. Standing still while needs stack up is how good positions rot. This time I take Leon despite his side because a deputy uniform still carries weight with frightened people, and because he knows the alleys around the courthouse better than Ruth. We go in my old delivery truck, muffler loud as sin, and hate every second of the noise. Town in daylight on day 4 is not a riot. It is worse. It is abandonment with bodies moving through it. Front doors hang open, dogs run loose. One swing set moves in a yard with nobody in it. A woman in a church blouse walks straight into a mailbox over and over because the post stops her and she does not understand why. We weave around stalled cars and a fallen utility line. At the clinic lot, the front awning has burned black, but the rear wing stands. June is right. The side service door is still locked. Leon busts the glass, reaches in, and opens it. Inside smells of smoke, antiseptic, and something else I do not let myself name. We work fast. June gave us a list. Gauze, disinfectant, antibiotics, IV saline if we can carry it, syringes, sutures, gloves, masks, scissors, pain meds, blood sugar strips, burn cream. We fill 2 duffels and a rolling bin from a treatment room when Leon stops in the doorway and says, "Ray." A voice is coming from under the reception counter. Soft. Male. We round the desk with guns up and find Deputy Marv Ellison sitting on the floor with one leg mangled under him where a filing cabinet fell. His face is gray. His revolver is empty except for 1 round left in the cylinder. He asks for water before anything else. We give him some and try the leg. It is broken bad and dark with infection from knee to ankle. June can tell from one look when she sees him. She says if we move him, maybe he makes it a few hours. If we leave him, maybe he makes it 1 hour. Marv asks if his wife got out. Leon says he does not know. Marv nods, wipes his mouth, and asks for the last round. Leon does not give it to him. He tells Marv we will get a door off hinges and carry him. While he is saying that, a crash sounds from deeper in the clinic. Then another. Then a whole room waking up at once. Marv closes his eyes. "No," he says. "No carry. Use the round." Leon and I both know what the practical answer is. Practical answers are easier from a roof. Up close, everything takes longer. Marv opens the cylinder himself, checks the 1 round, and puts the revolver back into Leon's hand because his fingers are shaking too hard now. He asks 1 more time if Leon knows about his wife. Leon says no again, because lying to a dying man does not help either of them. We leave the water bottle beside Marv and back out with the medical bags, while the sounds in the clinic get nearer. Leon uses the round before the door shuts. We do not talk on the drive back. That evening, Curtis comes again. This time he brings 6 people and a flatbed truck. No gunfire, no immediate threat. He stands in the lot and makes a speech loud enough for nearby houses to hear. "This store has food, water, power, and medicine," he says. "One man does not own that with town dying around him. Bell Creek needs a ration point and armed control. Open up and we can do this right." What he means is he wants the store because he did not build one. He wants my walls, my stock, my roof, and my discipline, without admitting any of those matter more than loud confidence. 3 people from nearby houses gather at the edge of the lot listening. That is what worries me. Not Curtis. Crowds. Crowds make cowards brave and fools certain. I answer from the roof. Bring your own stock, your own water, your own work. Then we can talk trade. Dean looks embarrassed. Roy does not meet my eye. One woman with Curtis has a bandaged hand and a shotgun she does not know how to hold. Curtis points at the boarded front of the store. "You think you're sheriff now?" "No," I say. I think I'm inside. The woman with the shotgun laughs once at that before she catches herself. Curtis hears it. His face changes, not anger right away. Worse. A man losing control in front of the wrong audience. He tells the crowd I am hoarding, that I let some in and leave the rest, that I turned away a wounded man last night. All of that is true enough in shape to work on people who are tired and scared. One older farmer shouts that his sister needs medicine. June comes to the slit, asks his sister's name, asks what medicine, asks where she lives. The farmer answers. June says we have one strip and he can have it. That breaks the scene in our favor because it reminds everybody this is not abstract. Real needs have names. Curtis sees the crowd slipping and steps backward toward the truck. Fine, he says. Keep your castle. That word sticks with Luke afterward. He asks at dinner if this is a castle. I tell him no. A castle has more than one way to lose. The attack comes after midnight with no speech first. Leon hears the truck before I do because he is awake on the office cot with the shotgun across his chest. The engine is low and fast in the alley. I hit the roof ladder. Ruth is already there, rifle up, hair tied back, face blank in the dark. A pickup with lights off slams into the side gate of the yard and tears it half open. Men pile out before the truck fully stops. Not a huge force. 4, maybe 5. Enough if the right door fails. They go for the back because Curtis is not stupid. He knows the front is just for noise. I fire one warning shot into the dirt by the dock. Ruth fires into the truck hood. The men scatter behind culvert pipe and the tilted gate. Then something worse happens. One of them starts shooting at the dock shield anyway. Loud, fast, stupid. The alley turns into thunder. Windows break in the empty tire shop across from us. Car alarms wake 2 streets over. Curtis wanted a quick grab. The moment the first burst of fire echoes out, it stops being that. It becomes a beacon. Leon takes the slit and answers with the shotgun. One man drops by the gate and does not get back up. Dean yells that Curtis has lost his mind. I do not see Curtis clearly until he moves behind the truck and tries to crawl toward the fuel drums stacked under the overhang. He is after the generator fuel. Of course he is. Nolan kills the generator from inside without being told. The whole building goes darker. June drags Ava and Luke into the inner office and throws mattresses against the interior wall. I hear her voice once, low and hard, telling both children to keep their mouths closed, no matter what they hear. Ruth and I keep firing only when we have a clean line. I am not spraying town people in the dark because one man has a grudge and the rest followed hunger. But I cannot let them through. Curtis gets within 10 feet of the drums before Leon clips him through the shoulder. He spins, falls, gets up again, and runs the wrong direction. Not away from us, but toward Maine, where the shots are pulling every dead thing in hearing range. The first of them comes into the alley less than a minute later. Then 6, then 10, then more from the street, the lots, the broken back doors of buildings we thought were empty. Shapes crowd the truck. One man who attacked us starts screaming for help and climbs onto the bed. Hands pull him down from 3 sides. The woman with the bandaged hand tries to run and makes it almost to the corner before something catches her leg. Dean dives under the fence and disappears. Roy gets back in the pickup, turns the wheel too hard, and jams the truck against the culvert stack. The horn locks on. A horn will kill us faster than rifles. Truck, Ruth says. I know. The alley is a moving wall now. If that horn keeps sounding, the entire south half of Bell Creek comes here before dawn. I climb down from the roof because the angle is wrong from up top. Leon grabs my sleeve and tells me no. I tell him the same thing I told Luke. Do not go out unless the answer is inside the building. Then I pull the dock shield just wide enough for a body and run crouched to the pickup through my own side yard. The world outside smells hotter than it should at night, full of exhaust, spilled fuel, and open rot from too many doors standing open around town. I keep the rifle up and move along the truck bed. One dead man is half in, half out over the tailgate. I do not look at his face. The horn is screaming from the crushed steering wheel. Roy is slumped over it, with his eyes open and his neck bent wrong. I grab his jacket and haul him sideways until the horn cuts off. The silence after that is thick for half a breath, then replaced by the sound of bodies hitting metal around me. Ruth fires from the roof to clear my return line. Leon pumps the shotgun below. I get back through the dock with 2 hands on my collar from behind and a boot slipping in spilled diesel. The shield slams. The chain drops. Something hits the outside hard enough to buckle the lower panel an inch inward. Then another hit. Then many. We brace the frame with a pallet jack, mineral blocks, and Nolan's body weight on a pipe lever, while June ties a tourniquet around Leon's thigh, because a round from the first exchange must have come through the slit and clipped him higher than he admitted. We hold the dock for an hour that feels longer than the rest of the week. The dead are not smart, but pressure works. Enough bodies against a weak point become a tool. The bottom panel bows. The bolts complain in the frame. I run to the retail floor and drag 2 stacks of bagged salt to the rear hall, while Ruth keeps roof watch and calls numbers. 6 at the left corner, 3 climbing the truck, more from Maine. We wedge the salt tight against the interior of the dock. Nolan screws a steel angle brace across the side post using lag bolts and hands that no longer shake, because now there is only work. June checks Leon, checks the children, checks the shield, then stuffs gauze into her own forearm, where I realize too late a splinter or ricochet opened her skin. By the time the pressure outside thins, the sky over the roof slot is turning gray. No one talks for a while after dawn. We move because moving is still required. Bodies in the yard. 1 truck wedged against the pipe stack. Fuel spill under the overhang. Dock panel bent inward but holding. Leon pale and sweating through the bandage. 1 dead attacker in the lot we cannot safely retrieve. Curtis gone. Dean gone. Roy dead in the pickup. The woman gone. No sign of whether gone means escaped or taken. Bell Creek is quieter than I have ever heard it. It feels emptied by that fight. Maybe the shooting pulled half the town's dead through the alley and left the rest stripped. Maybe everyone alive within earshot learned what this building costs to approach. We spend day 5 repairing instead of gathering. Ruth and I clear the yard with hooked poles from the safety aisle, dragging bodies far enough to keep the smell off the dock. Nolan siphons unspilled diesel from the wrecked pickup with a clear hose and a filter funnel, because fuel is fuel no matter who brought it. June keeps Leon flat and watches for fever. Luke and Ava sit in the office with a deck of cards from the checkout rack, playing a game Luke invents as he goes, so she will stop listening to the noises outside. I replace dock bolts, add 2 more braces, and build a second interior wall out of seed pallets, fencing panels, and pipe clamps in case the outer shield fails next time. There will be a next time. Anybody smart enough to survive more than a week will eventually look at this store and do the same math Curtis did. Around noon, Earl Womack knocks from the alley. He comes alone, hat missing, shirt torn, one eye swollen shut. I do not open until he shows both arms and turns slow in place. He says his wife died yesterday, and his barn is on fire from a lantern knocked over in the loft. He says he has 2 hogs loose and no reason to go home. I do not let him in right away. That is what this place has turned me into in less than a week. A man who makes Earl Womack stand in the alley while I decide whether grief can be trusted. June comes beside me and says, "He can work?" Earl hears her and says yes before I answer. So he comes in. He smells like smoke and creek mud. He takes one look at the braces and starts helping without being told. That evening, we have 7 people inside if I count Ava and Luke as full bodies, which I do because food counts them that way. Nolan says the generator can last maybe 9 more days on careful use if we do not have another attack. Ruth says we should move to the grain elevator north of town because height and concrete beat a retail floor. Leon says moving a wounded man and 2 children through open streets would be suicide. June says staying lit gets us killed just as surely, only later. Earl says nothing for a long time, then says the simplest thing anybody says all day. "You don't live in a fortress," he says. "You use one until it starts using you." Nobody answers because nobody can improve that sentence. The next 2 days settle into a bad kind of order. We do not run lights after dark except one shielded lamp in the wash bay when absolutely needed. We run the generator in short windows for water, refrigeration, and battery charge. We answer some knocks and ignore others. That becomes the worst job. A woman with a broken wrist and her teenage son. Yes. A man carrying 3 rifles and a sack who says he can trade. No. A preacher's widow with canned peaches and a request for soap. Yes. 2 brothers from the outskirts who want fair shares from the town's stock. No. Every answer changes our future a little. Every yes brings skill or burden or both. Every no leaves a voice outside that may return with hate once hunger settles in. On the 6th night, Darlene's car rolls into the lot by itself at walking speed and bumps the curb. The engine stalls. Everyone in the back room goes still. I know the dent in that fender before I know anything else. Ruth and I take the roof. The driver door hangs open. Frank Pike is slumped over the wheel harness with his oxygen tubing around his neck and no tank attached. Darlene is in the passenger seat, seatbelt still on, head against the window. I keep the binoculars up longer than I need to because the shape of her hair says what the rest of me does not want to say yet. Neither moves. Neither gets up. We wait. That is what this world has trained already. Wait long enough to know which kind of dead you are dealing with. Frank stirs first, slow and wrong, mouth working at the air in the cab. Darlene does not. June comes to the roof and stands beside me without speaking. After another full minute, Frank starts beating one hand against the glass because he sees motion on the roof. Darlene remains still with her cheek against the passenger window and a dry, dark line down her collar. I go down with the rifle and open the front board slit I have not touched since day 1. The lot is empty except for the car and 2 dead figures at the far curb that do not care yet. I shoot Frank through the windshield because I am not dragging him out and because there is no other clean ending. The sound carries. One figure at the curb turns, then another. I close the slit and screw the inner plate back fast with hands that miss the first hole. Darlene stays in the passenger seat until morning when we can move the car with the forklift. We cover her with a tarp first. Luke asks later if she was my friend. I tell him yes. By the 7th morning, Bell Creek is no longer a town in the ordinary sense. It is a terrain. Safe house, burned block, open lane, bad alley, water source, dead cluster, noise pocket. We talk about it that way now because names such as florist, diner, courthouse, and bus yard mean less than whether a door hangs inward or outward. That change is one of the things I hate most. Places that held years can be stripped down into function in less than a week. We make one last daylight trip, short and ugly, to the volunteer fire shed 3 blocks north because Leon needs more bandage wrap, and Nolan swears there are portable radios, fuel cans, and turnout coats there that might help with future runs. I leave Ava with June and take Ruth, Earl, and Luke, despite my better judgment, because the boy sees details and can crawl where grown men cannot. The shed is half open when we reach it. A brush truck sits idling empty with no driver. Someone left it and never came back. We cut the engine, roll it silent, and load hose couplings, pry tools, blankets, radios, first aid bags, batteries, and 2 heavy coats. Luke finds a box of road flares under a bench. Earl finds canned coffee and stale crackers in the office. Ruth finds the station logbook open to the last neat line written before handwriting, turned into slashes across the page. On the way back, we pass the church. The doors stand open. Hymn boards still hang inside. 6 people are kneeling in the aisle. I think for half a second they are praying until one raises its head at the sound of our cart. Luke sees it too. He does not say anything. He just grips the handle harder and keeps walking because by day 7 even a boy can sort what is dead from what is sacred. That afternoon, with fire tools and extra radios stacked in the back room, with Leon alive but not fit, with Ava asleep on 2 feed sacks and Luke shelling peanuts beside her, with Earl fixing the bent side gate and Nolan cleaning carburetor parts on a rag, with June washing dried blood from a metal basin and Ruth checking the roof line again. I finally understand what this building is and what it is not. It is not salvation. It is not fairness. It is not the town. It is not a place big enough for every person who waits until the last hour and then remembers my name. It is walls, water, stock, labor, routine, and a handful of people willing to keep each other honest while everything outside slides. That is all. That is a lot. That is not enough for everybody. So I changed the rules one more time. No more open trade after dark. No more generator unless a task requires it. No more answering voices we do not know from the slit after sunset. No one comes in without skill, family linked to someone already inside, or immediate life we can actually save. No exception because somebody shouts louder. I say it out loud to the room, and nobody argues because everybody here already learned the price of softness without structure. June only adds one line. If we refuse somebody, she says, we still do it clean. I agree to that. Clean matters. Even now. Maybe especially now. At dusk, I climb to the roof and tighten the last bolts on the watch shield. The air is cooler than it has been all week. Somewhere out beyond the feed mill, a cow is bawling because nobody has milked or fed it right. A screen door bangs in a house with no lights. Smoke hangs low over the south end. My store sign is dark. The front windows are blind with plywood and feed. The lot is empty except for the tire marks from Darlene's car and the stain where Curtis's truck spilled diesel. Bell Creek stretches out in all directions, quiet enough that I can hear a dog chain tapping a porch rail 6 houses away. Ruth comes up with 2 mugs of boiled coffee and hands me one. She sits on the overturned bucket beside the hatch and looks across town. "You staying?" she asks. "For tonight," I say. That is not what I meant. I know. I drink the coffee anyway and look at the courthouse roof where the flag is hung halfway down on its halyard and snapped there for 2 days straight. This place can hold, I say after a while. Maybe not forever. Long enough to matter. Ruth nods. She does not ask for a bigger promise than that. Adults who are still alive by the end of the first week stop asking for forever. Dark comes on slow. We do not light the roof. We do not light the sign. Below us, the people inside settle into the sounds of a place run on purpose. A pan set down softly, a cot frame creaking once, Leon coughing, June telling Ava to drink more water, Nolan muttering at a wrench, Earl dragging a brace into position, Luke asking Ruth from below whether he can take first watch from the office slit if he stays quiet. A week ago, this building sold fence staples and dog food to people I knew by last name. Now it keeps a small pocket of Bell Creek breathing behind cinderblock and bolts. I do not know what next week brings. I do know this. The town is gone in the way towns are supposed to exist. The road signs are still there. The houses are still there. The church, diner, courthouse, and feedlots are still there. But the part that made Bell Creek a place where a person could leave his truck running while he grabbed coffee, where Darlene Pike could joke with customers at the register, where Deputy Leon could answer one call at a time and expect the day to stay inside ordinary rules, that part is over. The store is still standing. The water still runs when we make the generator work for it. The doors still hold. The roof still gives me a full view of every street that matters. Inside, people sleep because I chose to board the windows before dark on the first day, and because enough other people chose work over panic after that. So I stay on the roof with the rifle across my knees and the coffee cooling in my hand until the stars come out over Bell Creek. When knocks sound now, I listen first, decide second, and open last. That is what the fortress costs. That is what it gives, too.